So let's discuss the biggest event of today, Avengers 4. And we finally get some nice confirmations here and there in the teaser trailer. Now granted, I will put down in the description below the teaser trailer, but let's discuss it real quick. So let's start off with the title of the movie, because that's probably the most important factor into some people's minds at least. This movie, as I predicted from the very beginning, ever since towards the ending of Avengers Infinity War, when Doctor Strange says, "Why would you do that?"
We're in the end game now.
I kind of figured that this movie would be called Avengers Endgame. And sure enough, it's Avengers Endgame. And so it's not necessarily surprising to me that, this movie would go out of its way to try to hide its title because it's some sort of spoiler. I don't know, it kind of, that sort of build up in PR just doesn't quite translate here. I don't think it's a spoiler of sorts, like they were meaning for it to be built up. I don't know, whatever. Pointless aside, this trailer is pretty cool. It's not necessarily Avengers Infinity War style, but it has this sort of, comeback feel to it. It's kind of like, oh yeah, we've been defeated, we're gonna do this plan. I don't know if we can actually do it, but we're gonna do it anyway. And that's kind of what I get from this movie. From the initial tone of this trailer, it seems like the Avengers are actually gonna do something, and it's probably gonna kill most of them. And I'm excited. Thus, the name itself, Avengers Endgame. But there's also a couple other things that happen in the trailer that I wanted to point out. One being, this shot right here is a clear parallel to this shot in Avengers, or in the Infinity War comic, I think, or towards the very end of the Infinity Gauntlet story. And let's also discuss Ronin in this film. Now granted, for those of you who don't know, Ronin is a brand new alias for Hawkeye. Hawkeye had been missing from Avengers Infinity War, and in this trailer we kind of get some confirmation that ever since the decimation, as the Prelude comic likes to call it, he has been in Japan trying to train. It looks like Japan, at least in the movie itself, and it looks pretty good. And I think that this trailer does a pretty decent job showing where the Avengers currently are and what they are about to do. And it gets you kind of hyped up as to seeing what they're going to do. Now granted, since this is an initial trailer, they're not going to show their best stuff. They're really not. And even in the marketing for Avengers Infinity War, they didn't even detail any of the story bits. Well, other than, the set locations and the battles and whatnot. But when it comes to specific story details, this trailer does a little bit of that sort of behind-the-scenes peek. Because we start off in the start of the trailer with Tony Stark looking as if he's in the Milano. I think it's the Milano. And there's some really good shots, like this shot here. That's beautiful. The Milano just kind of soaring across the galaxy. That's beautiful. And it's just this sort of final message that kind of speaks very morbid towards this case. So it does raise a little bit of questions here and there. We hear kind of a sort of side mention of rescue, which is kind of the code name for Pepper Potts' own suit, but that's a different story. There's a lot to really dissect out of this trailer. And I think some people, when it comes to the reaction to this trailer, how it doesn't really show anything, I think they're kind of lying. Or they just have no understanding of how to read imagery and actually contextualize the images that they're given in order to understand what this movie is properly about. Now granted, this is the follow-up to Avengers Infinity War, the biggest movie last year, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens next in terms of box office, because the first one made gangbusters, $2.1 billion. That's a lot. That's underestimation. And I think this one might just beat that. Who knows? But it's going to be also very interesting on Marvel's part, because at the very end of this trailer, we actually get a month release date. And it's not May, like it says on IMDb or anywhere else. It's April. And considering Captain Marvel is in March, I mean, that's a much narrower gap between Black Panther and Avengers from last year. That's where I kind of get some problems in terms of the marketing. They're going to have a huge uphill battle when it comes to marketing both Captain Marvel and Avengers. And I feel like Captain Marvel is going to get the lesser of the two evils because more people are going to definitely go for Avengers Endgame. Because who cares about Captain Marvel? No one's wanting to watch that before that movie. I mean, granted, for us Marvel nerds, we'll go watch every single one of them, right? Or most of them. But when it comes down to this, you got Captain Marvel in March and April, and if you're really strapped for cash, and you can only make one, why choose Captain Marvel? Choose Avengers Endgame. That's the one you're primarily in for. That's kind of my assumption here. Because the marketing just seems very too close in terms of its release. And that we'll see how that kind of plays into how the films perform later on next year. But that's just me. So what do you guys think of the trailer? Do you think it's good? Do you think it doesn't really show too much? Put them down in the comment section down below. I'm excited to hear what you think about the Avengers 4 trailer or Avengers Endgame trailer. Leave it down in the comment section down below, and I'll see you at the next screening. Peace.